Hey guys, Youngblood with you, and what I wanted to do today was actually kind of an extension of what some of the other content creators have been doing, and recently there's been a bunch of guides on how to get started in Star Citizen, and for the most part those have been related to buying a ship, signing up for an organization, setting your controls, all those sorts of things. But what I wanted to do, and what I've actually been getting questions on, is what is there to do in the game right now, and how do I do it? So I'm going to go ahead and take you through a quick walkthrough on some of that, at least as quickly as I can. For those of you that have been playing a little bit more frequently, you're probably going to look at a lot of this and say, well, yeah, I already knew that. But that's not necessarily who I'm trying to target here with this video. So when you load into the game, you're going to be here on the main menu where you're going to have a couple different options that you can choose from. So let's go ahead and just start as simple as possible, and we'll talk about going into our hangar. Now, the hangar is ultimately where you're going to be able to look at your ships, walk around. There's also what's called the holo table in your hangar. And it's a little bit complicated. It's a little bit buggy right now, but it's where you can change things out with your ship. So, for example, that's going to be, you can change out your shields, you can change out your weapons, you can add different ammo, like those sorts of things. Like, that's where you can actually do it. And in a hangar, and the one that I'm currently using is the Revel in York, but it's going to be a little bit different. But ultimately, what you want to look for is this table right here. Press F to interact with it, and this is going to be your holo table. I wouldn't worry about this a whole lot right now, because ultimately it's kind of buggy and it's going to be changed anyways. But in your hangar, you can walk around, take a look at your ships, and we're not going to spend much time in here because it's all mostly self-explanatory. But you can see, there's your ships, and you can climb into them and do a little bit of exploring. Now, once you've actually gotten into your hangar and your ships are where they're at, there's two different ways to start getting into things. Let's say you want to get in and just fly around, but you don't want to get into the open world universe. The first thing that you can do is actually get into the sim pod, because we're going to be going into what's known as Arena Commander. Now, what the sim pod is going to do is this is how it's going to look in the end game. This is how you're going to get into this virtual environment. But you can come into Arena Commander. And the other option is Star Marine. That's going to be the first-person shooter aspect, but we don't have that in place. But once you're in Arena Commander, there's three different options. You've got Spectrum Match, which is going to be playing with other players. You've got Drone Sim, which is going to be playing by yourself. And you've got Basic Flight Training. Now, eventually, this is going to be a really good thing for you new guys to go through, but right now, it's very laggy, it's very buggy, and frankly, it's just not worth your time for right now. So let's assume you're brand new. You're probably not going to want to get in with other players immediately. You go into Drone Sim. And from here, you've got two different options. You've got Free Flight. Well, actually, you got a couple options. You got Free Flight, which is just a map, and you can fly around. You can test landing. You can test maneuvers, your keybinds. This is where I go to see if my loadouts have stuck and what I think about the way ships fly. The next option is Vanduul Swarm. It's going to be you and two NPC wingmen. You're going to be fighting against 18 different waves of Vanduul attack. It's a good option for if you're wanting to actually just practice combat, even though the AI isn't that good. And then you've got Classic Race, which is going to be a you versus NPCs or yourself actually flying around the map. Now, from here, you can choose between two maps for the most part, Broken Moon and Dying Star. I would encourage you to start on Broken Moon because it's brighter and there's less asteroids. But additionally, you can also change out your ship here. And you're going to have all of your ships listed. If you only have one, you're just going to have the one there. Otherwise, you're going to have a bunch of different ships that you can choose from. You just select the one that you actually want to go with, click Apply, and then you hit Launch, and you'll actually be in the Drone Sim. Now, I'm not going to boot that up just yet, but I wanted to show you, if you go into Spectrum Match, like I mentioned, you can create a private match, which is going to let you play with your friends, or you can do a public match, which is just going to pair you up with random people out in the universe. Now, within this menu, you get different options to change things. So again, you've got the mode that you can change. Battle Royale is basically just a total melee. It's everybody fighting against each other. You got Capture the Core, which is basically like a capture the flag type of game where you fly through a core and you end up bringing it back to your side. It's a team game. You've got Free Flight, which is just you and a bunch of people randomly flying around. Sometimes they're going to try and kill you, sometimes they're not. It's just going to be whoever you're playing with. Squadron Battle, which is going to be kind of like a team deathmatch, if you will. First team to a certain point total ends up winning that. Just be aware, when you're in a team match like this, if you end up shooting your team too much, you end up getting kicked out. Cooperative Vanduul Swarm, which is like the one we talked about in the Drone Sim. You're still fighting AI, but you're with a team of 3 others. And then Race is going to be where you're actually going to be racing against other people. The best time wins, first person to complete 3 laps. So that's the general gist of it. Again, you can select what map you want to play. You can try Dying Star, but there's not a lot of people playing on it. I would just stick with Broken Moon for the time being. Pick your ship, hit apply, and hit launch, and you'll be set. So I mentioned that there was actually 2 ways to get into Arena Commander. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to back out of this sim pod real quick. And the way I generally do it, because it's a lot faster, is just hit escape, and you'll get the same menu once you actually click electronic access. Looks pretty similar, right? Now, let's say you want to get out into the open world and start playing with other people in what we have now known as the universe. There's still 2 ways to do that. If you're in your hangar, you can come through the big hangar doors. Every hangar looks a little bit different, but it's going to basically be the big hangar door against the back wall. And you're going to be looking for an elevator. And once you come into the elevator, hit F to use. And you can choose between ArcCorp or Port Olisar. Now, with these, ArcCorp is going to be like you walking around in a city in first person. You're actually on a planet surface. That's actually a pretty cool thing to do. I'm not going to show that in this video just because you can actually go in and do it, but there's actually going to be things like weapons shops, medical bay, a bar. You can see ships flying around. There's the TDD, which is going to be giving you the opportunity to take on missions for trade or boarding and different acts. But then you've got Port Olisar, which is where most of the action takes place today. So again, we could click it here and actually take the elevator up, which is just kind of a simulated way of doing that. Or, like before, you can just hit escape and go back to the main menu. So we'll go ahead and do that. And the reason I wanted to go this way was because I wanted to show you too that you can access all of these things right when you boot into the game. So if you know that you want to go fly in the open world, you just click Universe. If you know you want to get right into electronic access and you don't want to play around with your ships, just go ahead and hit electronic access. But we are going into the open universe. And we're going to select Port Olisar because we want to go into space. Click it again, make sure it's selected, and then hit launch. Now, if you have friends that are online, and I've got a previous video on how to add friends in the persistent universe, it'll show you different instances where your buddies are so you can try and join them. But with this being my lunch break in the middle of the day, there's not really anybody on. Now, it's going to take a few moments to load. That's pretty usual. But what's going to happen is you're actually going to wake up in a little habitat room on board the space station's Port Olisar. And on that, you can take a look around. It's kind of fun. It's kind of immersive. There's going to be bathrooms and stuff. But what we're going to do is we need to try and run down to where you can spawn your ship. Because ultimately, you need to get off of this planet, or the space station, if you really want to do anything. So there's different things you can take a look at. On Port Olisar, there's 4 landing pads. There's 4 landing struts, A, B, C, and D, all of which have 10 landing pads on them. So you're not always going to load up on A or B. It's going to kind of vary based on what you're doing. So here we are waking up. Your character's going to be a little slow to get out of bed. It must have been a rough night. And all of these rooms are a little bit different. Some look like you totally trashed the place. So we're at this hallway. You're going to wake up in various rooms, but you're going to want to come down to either end. There's a door on each side. I'm going to hoof it. Want to get down to the first level. Always go towards the center, where you're going to have these panels right in the middle of the room. Now, one thing to point out, when you see this big brown banner in the middle, that's going to be always kind of my indicator, because when I see that, I know the left side is landing pads 1 through 4, that's 5 through 8, and then you also have 9 and 10 on the back wall. Those are bigger pads for ships like Constellations and Retaliators. If you ever get confused, look at the walls. So let's go ahead and pull a ship. You come up to the screen, you hit F to interact, you pick your ship. Let's go with the good old Gladius. Select it, hit request ship, and we're on strut B landing pad 2. Hit F or control F to get out of that screen, and we know 2 is over here. So now we need to run to that, and we're going to get through the airlock. Now these aren't elevators, these are actually airlocks. So hit F to interact and open the door. It is cycling, and now it's pressurized. Come to the console in the middle, Hit F again, and now we're depressurizing so you can get out into open space. Landing pad 2, so we're going this way. Landing pad 2, so we're going this way. 1 is on the left, 2 is on the right, and you'll always have the little indicator over your ship to give you an idea of where you need to go. Hello, old friend. I haven't seen my Gladius in a while. I love this ship. So I'm switching from mouse and keyboard over to my Whooshes setup now. And what I'm going to do as soon as we take off is I'm actually going to show you this station and then show you a couple things you can do in this game. Alright, so let's get up in the air. We'll use that term air loosely. So you can see that's landing pad A, B, C, D. So now that you're up in the air, you can fly around, you can engage quantum. If you're using mouse and keyboard, the M button is going to be what really brings up, or the middle mouse button is what's going to bring up your quantum locations. But before we go anywhere, I want to see what missions we have available to do. So you hit F9 to bring up your journal, or your Moby Glass. We want to be looking under Mission Manager, otherwise known as MG Scheduler. And here we get a few different options. The first one's actually going to be repair array 730. So let's say we want to do that, okay? Well, go ahead and get your quantum menu up, and basically you're going to look for the one you want. And there's 730, which is where we're going to go. The station was in our way, so we had to get out of it. Now that we've got the white circle, we are good to engage. Now, once you actually get to one of these comm arrays, there's a really good indicator to help you know if it's on or off. When we first arrived, you'll notice the indicator in the upper left went away. Now, above hand, you see that there's actually a red light, meaning that this array is off, and now there's pirates that have spawned here. So we could spend some time actually engaging with these enemies if we want to. Remember, orange are criminals, green is friendlies. But if I start engaging these guys too much, this is going to be a very long video. So ultimately what you would do, and you can see other videos I've made, you get out of the ship and you go through the probably should have finished that word. You exit the cockpit and you're going to go into one of the towers right in the middle. Somewhere right along that, where my crosshair is at, there's a pathway. Don't you shoot at me. You can actually get out of the ship and go in there. And what you're going to look for is at the bottom of the screen, or at the bottom of that tunnel, there's going to be a little computer panel that you need to interact with, and you'll actually turn it back on, get back in your ship, and you'll be good to go. Oh, apparently my shields weren't reflecting me taking damage. Lovely benefits of Alpha. So we're going to go ahead and just grab another ship real quick, and I'm going to show you 2 other things that you can do, and we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. And what I'll probably end up doing is some specifics on these actual missions. I just can't do all of them in one video, or it's going to get entirely too long. So getting out of bed again, as you can see, once you die, it automatically happens. Woke up in the same bed. That's convenient. Yeah, you're going to find weird things like that in Alpha. It's just the way the game is right now. It's definitely being worked on, but it's not perfect. Let's grab a M50. Hey, same landing pad. So what we're going to do on this one is I'm going to show you 2 different locations that we might want to go to. If you remember in the Moby Glass, there was Private Eye Wanted as one of the missions. And there's a place here called Kovalek Shipping Hub where you actually will go and try and find pieces of evidence that are scattered around the station for you to help solve a mystery. So I'll show you how we're going to get there. And then the other one that's on there is ICC Probe Assistance. There's a probe out in space that'll assign you different missions, and it'll be to, arrive at various locations around space so you can actually help investigate whatever they're wanting you to do. It could be a distress beacon, it could be a weird signal, something along those lines. But I'm going to show you those 2 things that we're actually looking for. Alright, so ICC probe. We're going to get this chatty lady talking to us since we're flying here. But as soon as you arrive, you're going to get Tessa, I believe her name is, talking to you, trying to give you assignments. But that's not what we're really here to do. So we're going to show you Security Port Korea as well. Security Port Korea is going to be where the real combat zone is. It's where people are ready to fight, ready to kill. It's a PvP arena. It's outside of comm range, so there's no negative impact for actually killing people here. You can also land and get inside the port where there's guns, and you can actually get into FPS combat. Okay. Actually, just get. Oh, okay. Here's Kovalex. And at Kovalex, you can either leave your ship floating, you can land on one of the pads. It doesn't really matter. But what you're going to do here is you're actually going to be going into the space station to do some research. And you float around in 0G. It's actually a really cool experience. But there's some blown out doors right there, which is where you're actually going to be going in. Yeah, don't tell me I'm trespassing. I know what I'm doing. Alright. Cry Astra, well that one's blocked. You have two repair facilities, both called Cry Astro. So we're going to go to 042 since it's actually not blocked at the moment. Oh, I lied. It was blocked. The planet blocked me. So we'll go to 262. There ain't nothing there. So let's say you're in combat, your ship takes damage, you run out of ammo, something like that. You can come to one of these repair facilities and actually end up getting fixed up. And there's several different landing pads, all of which you can land on and get repairs at. They'll also refuel you because you have a limited number of fuel quantity. And one last thing I want to show you before we wrap this up. Yella is a one of the moons around Crusader, and it actually has an asteroid belt. And within this asteroid belt, there's things like derelict wrecks. There's also pirates occasionally. And within some of these wrecks, which you can see like here with that green light that we're going to fly towards, there's actually weapons that you can pick up. So things like sniper rifles and shotguns that you can then take over to Security Port Korea to actually get into some trouble. So I'm going to go ahead and leave this video at that. I wanted it to be as simple as possible to give you the information you need to be able to get into game and how to do stuff. I'm probably going to do some follow-up videos on how you actually do each one of these missions. I'll probably kind of conduct them in like a Let's Play type of mentality. But if you have questions or if there's something you're wondering if it's in-game or not, please feel free to put them in the comments. I'm happy to talk to you about them. Otherwise, stay tuned for a whole lot more content. I hope this got you going, and have yourselves a wonderful day. Take care.